Welcome back to Dawn's Dirt, and I'm Dawn, your host. And today you're in for a real treat. I'm sitting down today with someone who wears more hats than most people can count. Rancher, mama of four, and powerhouse online business coach, Sausha Davis. In this episode, we talk about from everything from horses to women in agriculture to mindset to money and what it really takes to build a business that feels good and actually works. We break down the different types of customers you meet, whether you're selling coaching, beef, or tomatoes at a farmer's market, and how understanding those customer types can completely change the way you sell and the way you buy. We laugh, we giggle, and we get real honest about balancing motherhood with entrepreneurship, taking care of yourself when life is full, and navigating the messy middle of building a business while still being a human. This is a down-to-earth, practical, straightforward, shooting conversation packed with business wisdom that you can use today. Make sure you listen right to the very end because that's where the gold is. Let's dive in. Welcome to the show, Sausha. So excited to have you here. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh gosh, where do I even start? I am a mom of four littles. They're 2, 4, 6, and 8. I live on a ranch in Southern Oregon. So we do some beef cattle, and I have horses, and recently got into some cow work with my horses, which has been a ton of fun. And I have ran an online business for about a decade. So, I mean, that's very high level. I'm sure we can go into a little bit more than
Well,
that.
we have almost an hour here now, so we got lots of time to talk here and get into it. So, wow. So you are a busy person. So you're a mama first.
Yes.
So 4 babies, and your babies are all little, and then you've got a ranch, so farming and agriculture and food and people and all the things,
All
and
the
you've got an
things.
online business. So I don't even honestly know where to start, except that I just want to hear you talk. I don't want to talk very much during this show. I just want to hear you and glean all the information.
Oh,
So, yeah.
man. Well, I can kind of take you back to the beginning of like when it all started because I well, we won't get too much into my childhood, but I was a hellion, and I didn't know if I was going to graduate high school, but then I did. And then I didn't know if I was going to graduate college, but then I did. I just kept telling myself, what would a normal person do? And kind of followed that path. Well, that path led me to a corporate career, right? Like what most people, quote unquote, most people end up. But I was miserable, like miserable in it. And after I had my after I had gotten married and had my first child, hmm, it was, hey, I really need to step away from this now. And so I had, that 6-figure plus career. I had that corner office. I was in corporate sales, corporate customer service. It was in manufacturing, which was not, a fun gig, but you wonder how you end up there. So anyways, I stepped away from that and went full time with coaching and consulting. And I've been doing that ever since. And so it's allowed me the freedom to really focus on what I find more important or most important in life, which is my family, number one. But then my animals, number two. I've always been a big horse person. I've had horses my whole life. They've been a part of my livelihood. And I had no time for me ever, and they say it's a 9 to 5. It's not really 9 to 5. You're working like 14, 16-hour days, especially when you're in management. Your phone never stops ringing. Like it just never stops. And I just knew there had to be another way. There had to be another way. And at the time, coaching wasn't as big as it is now. Back then I didn't even know what a podcast was. Somebody had mentioned a podcast. I was like, what is a podcast? And so I started listening to podcasts, and that's how I got introduced to like the idea of coaching. And somebody had actually said to me, you'd make a really great coach or a really great consultant. And that's kind of what put the idea in my head. But yeah, I left I put in my 2 weeks notice at my job without really a plan other than I was determined to make it work. And it's evolved, obviously, over this past decade, but it has evolved into something that I couldn't even have pictured for myself, that many years ago. But that's really how I got my footing in this space in the first place. So
Thank you. Yeah, I'm actually I just started into coaching, so I'm like 10 years behind you. So I was a farmer
That's
for many.
fine. You're all good.
Thank you. Yeah, so I was a vegetable farmer for many, many years. I sold
Mhm.
my farm 2 years ago, and now I'm doing coaching. I'm coaching people how to do farm to table sales. And the part that I love the most about you is you are a rancher. So
Mhm.
you've got the business, you are a mama, so you're doing, mama things. And I was at a farmer's market 3 weeks after my C-section. Like I was a working mama.
Same.
Yeah, and so you just do what you got to do as a mama with
Mhm.
your own business, and then now you're doing business coaching, is that correct?
Yep. So I do business coaching, business consulting with a heavy focus on sales and marketing. I mean, sales in terms of sales conversations, marketing yourself beyond just social media. Yes, social media is a component of it, but I find that people these days get very single minded on social media is the only way to grow your business. And while, yes, that is a priority in growing your business, it is absolutely not the only way. And so I want to teach people the basics of business and how they can really enhance their sales skills and abilities beyond what they see every day online. And since I come from like corporate sales and whatnot, it's all very like bro heavy, right? It's all like old traditional sales. It's all very pushy sales. It's all, confuse them until they say yes, or don't let them leave until they say yes. And it is like such a gross way to promote yourself. And so I have an entirely new concept on how I have conversations with people and like how you put personalities into it. So there's different buyer personalities, there's different seller personalities, there's different nurture sequences, there's different ways to follow up with people. And none of that is really taught in traditional sales. And so I want to bring that to today's small business, plus incorporate, the motherhood aspect. A lot of the people I work with are farmers, are ranchers, are homesteaders, or, maybe they're not doing it full time, but that is a very big part of their life, right? They have livestock of some sort, children. And so it is this multifaceted thing where it's like, how do you put an emphasis on what and when, and how to sell in a way that feels natural and sustainable to you. So.
For sure, absolutely. So have you dealt much with like farm to table sales in your path?
Not a ton of farm to table. I've done more of like larger ranches, like beef boxes, more like direct to consumer type of stuff. I've worked with a few folks that have, had spots at farmers markets, but then they've grown beyond the farmers market and brought things in house. So I mean, I have, but it's not like this singly thing or the singular thing. I've also worked with a lot of like like equine ranches, foundation ranches, stuff like that, who are breeding and selling and training horses and whatnot. But I mean, I've worked with people in a lot of different arenas. But yeah, I've worked with some, I would say.
For sure, for sure. Because that's where I'm headed, is that small
Yep.
farm to table, getting
Mhm.
people getting their feet wet into farm to table sales. So you've worked with like big horse people, and you've worked with large scale ranchers. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I've actually worked. There's a couple of folks that I'm working with right now that are, well, one was two recent ones, I would say. One was out of Arizona, and she raises foundation quarter horses, mostly for just ranch work. Every now and then they'll have a horse that goes into competition, but she does. She does sell to a lot of the larger ranches. And so they have anywhere from like 40 to 60 head, like new foals every year. Um, and so when she came to me, they were having a really hard time just like getting it out there, like what they were doing. They were only selling like 8 or 10 foals a year. And that's really where they wanted to sell them, was before they became yearlings. They wanted to sell them as weanlings basically, but then they were selling them as yearlings and 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds. And so they just kept stocking up on horses and wanted to sell them. And so what we had done is we had updated a few things on our website, implemented a few different opt-ins, shared, different ways on how she could promote herself, collecting information from people people who had been reaching out, how to qualify people, how to disqualify people, how to follow up with people. And I'm not kidding you, the second month that she worked with me, she sold 12 horses. Like, that was more than what she had sold the entire last season. And she ended up selling out of all of her horses within like 3 months of working together because of just the things that we had been putting out there and how she was phrasing it, and how she was qualifying people. Especially in the horse world, there's a lot of tire kickers. And so it's like, who do you know? How do you know who to spend time on? And so coming up with pre-qualifying questions and really knowing where to go from there type of stuff. So that's one example. There's another gal that does, she's in North Dakota, and I think they have like a 3,000 plus acre ranch. It's pretty large compared to some of the others. Biggest one, I think, in biggest or second biggest, something like that, in North Dakota. But they raise beef cattle, but they also raise foundation horses too, and they sell theirs all over. South America, Mexico, United States, Canada, they sell them all over. So they have like an online auction that they do too. And so then figuring out how to accurately price their horses so that she can get top dollar for what they are. A lot of them have champion bloodlines. They've won, and so it's like, how do you also put that out in your marketing so that people aren't just thinking they're, your basic grade horse, and so being able to really double her sales too has been, and her reach online, and having her hire team members to help her with some of it, virtually. So that was another kind of example of how that's worked. So, yeah.
So basically what you're saying is you coach people like the Yellowstone, the TV show Yellowstone?
I used to be a big Yellowstone fan until the last couple of seasons, but I watched a lot of it in the beginning. So yeah.
For sure. As long as we don't call you Beth. I've been called Beth before, but yeah. So you coach like fairly large scale operations on how to take their numbers, their tic-tac-tician, their marketing, their sales, and the overall business side of it to the next level, so that they go from selling 10 horses to 12 horses within a month. That's amazing, and you're doing it in a very I've been getting into this whole masculine and feminine thing, and so you're. You can't guess it by the way I'm dressed. I wear the ball cap all the time. I'm, out in the dirt or whatever. But so
good.
this whole, I'm a farm girl, right? I'm just used to working and grunting and doing the things on my farm.
When I get off these calls, I'm like, strip this stuff off. And, I like to dress like in nice Western wear, but then I have my everyday clothes that I wear.
Your farm clothes.
Zoom.
Yeah. They stand up on their own because, like, woof, they stink maybe.
Exactly.
I love it because you're also a farm wife. Like you're ranching and you're doing food. So let's take it back to that. So how do you juggle being a mom? Because my listeners, right, my listeners hearing today, they're coming into it. They want to be brand new into business. They're just trying to figure it all out, and they're trying to juggle how to be a mom, how to market, how to do all the things, wear all the hats. So what is some advice you would give to someone that's just brand new, starting out and getting into it? Hey friends, on Dawn's Dirt, we get real about growing food, farming, homesteading, living free, and digging into the stuff that actually matters. If you're loving the dirt we're dishing out, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow on your favorite social media platforms. That's how we keep growing this community of badass, soil-covered, chicken-loving, freedom-chasing humans. Like and subscribe to me on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, you name it. Come be part of the movement.
Yeah. So when I first started out, or what I recommend to people when they first start out, is probably not like your traditional business advice, but it really starts with taking care of you first. Like, I am a big believer in the only way that you're going to have enough energy to get through the day is by filling your cup first. And so I actually read this book probably 10 or so years ago, and it was called The Miracle Morning. And it just totally changed my perspective on how to set my day up for success. And so I have still really embodied that even to this day, even if I can only get a couple minutes in for myself. But I wake up before the kids. I make sure that I have, some silence to myself. I get some movement in. I drink my water. I have my coffee in peace. I do prayer, meditation, journaling. And sometimes it only takes me 20 or 30 minutes. Other times, if I have more time, it'll take me an hour or so, right? I'll do the chores, feed the dogs, feed the horses, feed the all the things before my kids even get up, right? So I've already taken care of myself and my chores before the day even really starts, right? And so I'm also one of those 5 a.m.ers, but I also, go to bed early. I want to utilize the day. Half my day is done before noon, and then I, wake up my children, take care of my children. I do have help with my younger two. They go to a part-time daycare a couple days a week so that I can do things like this. But otherwise, they're home for the most part. And I think that it's okay to have an integrative life and an integrative business. And it's okay for your kids to see you work. I don't know where that felt like it was not okay, but I'm very much a believer in my kids need to know what work looks like and be raised on, working hard. Not that they have to overexert themselves, but hard work and learn discipline, and that mom is also a human being and not just your waitress or whatever, right? um but I take care of the kiddos. They go to school, my two youngest or my two oldest. And then my work day is really my online business work day is really only from about 9 to 2. So I get as much as I can done in that time. And then the rest of the time is farm and family. So,
I love that.
but that's really, and I'm really good with boundaries now. I didn't used to be, because you can burn yourself out really, really quickly, especially in an online business, because you can work whenever you want. And so when you love what you do, you can work all the time. And so I have, this office set up. And so at the end of the day, I shut the computer, I shut the door, and, every now and then I'll come back after the kids go to bed and finish up a few things. But, I try to have pretty solid boundaries around that. So, I know that, again, that wasn't like your traditional advice, but that's how I set my day up. But then I'm also a big believer in, batch work and automations and asking for help when you need help. I think a lot of us, especially in this, uh, those of us who have grown up on farms or ranches or homesteads, we have this very what's the word? We're very independent. We're very do it ourselves, and so we hyper independent almost. So we can struggle to ask for help because I can just do it myself, right? And so relearning or unlearning that and knowing when to ask for help and how to ask for help. And that is a skill. It's not something that you just inherently know. It is something that you learn to do. And it can be a lot more challenging than people think. So
For sure. That's some great advice, and I'm just taking that back. I'm taking it back to when I was running, I call it my empire. When I
yeah.
had because I had a 36,000 square foot greenhouse. I did 20
Okay.
acres of garden. I did, over $1 million a year in sales just in that. Plus I had a couple of stores, and I looked after myself. One thing that I did for myself was I hired someone to
Mm-hmm.
clean my house. So I was divorced. Yeah, because I just needed that. I wanted to be able to come into my home, have it my sanctuary, and not have to come into a big mess where it was just chaotic and, all the things. And I
Yep.
wanted a clean house. And so I was divorced at that point, and week on, week off, someone came in. When my kids left to go to their dad's for the week,
Mhm.
I cleaned my entire house up and it was clean for the whole week. Yeah. And back to the whole, watching your kids watching you work. I took my first two jobs in 20 years,
Mhm.
just when I sold my farm. So I went from being an employer to an employee. And yes, I got fired from both of them. But
You're like me. You're like one of those unemployable people.
I'm 100% unemployable. But anyways, I had some people say to me, people that didn't really understand, they said, "You have more time with your family now that you're working a full-time job." And I said, "Actually, I don't. When I
Mhm.
was working full-time, I brought my at that point, they were young teenage girls. I brought them to the market. They worked with me. We drove all the way, sometimes 2 hours to a market, and we had all that time in the vehicle. We
Yep.
could talk, we could visit. They worked with me. They made a little bit of dollars and cents for themselves, and it
Mhm.
was a team adventure. And
Yep.
so that's the thing. Like, it's a misconception that just because you are self-employed that you can't have your kids join you. And yes, my kids, when they were small, they were babysitters and they went to daycare and things like that too. I couldn't when I was in work mode, I was not in mom mode sometimes, and especially
Well,
when they were
it's hard
little.
to be when you're like out, like there's times where, like I'll bring the kids, cause like our cow calf pairs are coming, like pregnant, but they're coming back here soon. And so then we'll have cow calf pairs in the spring. But there's like certain things that like I won't take my kids with because I'm like, you could probably get hurt. You know what I mean? So there's like certain things like that. Or like if I'm working horses, I'm like not gonna have you know what I mean, my 2-year-old running around the arena or something. You know what I mean? Like there's certain things, but then if I'm just like, doing a few things in the garden, or if I'm just like going out on the side by side and checking cows, or stuff like that, I'm like, whatever, come with me. It's not a big deal. Or if I'm doing this, this type of stuff, I want them to not be here. But if I'm doing everyday just admin stuff, I'm like, I don't care if they're here. So it's kind of a, I don't know, give and take thing.
For sure, for sure. And then, so I'm a couple years ahead of you in child rearing. So my kids are
Okay.
14, 16, and 18 now. And I'll tell you what, now that I'm at this point, my kids have watched me work. They've worked with
Hmm.
me, and now they are working for others, and they are sought after employees because they know how to work, because they did it on the farm. So
Yeah.
that's the goal, really.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Raise capable human beings, right?
For
So
sure, that can think for themselves and do things for themselves and take initiative and hopefully be business women on their own one day. So, yeah.
exactly.
So let's chat women entrepreneurs. So I read that in your bio. So how do you inspire women entrepreneurs, and would you suggest women getting into farming? Like typically in society it's more of like a man thing, but I was a single mama farmer for many, many years. So what's your thoughts and feelings on all of this?
Well, I think entrepreneurship is one of those things that I feel like everybody should have something that they're passionate about or something on the side. There's no reason that everybody can't be some type of entrepreneur. You can bring in, a few $100 extra a month, or few hundreds of $1,000s extra a month. You know what I mean? Just depending on what it is that you have, and with the ability to have digital products, or even just flipping furniture or selling flowers. I mean, there are so many different things that you could do just to earn, a little bit of income. And so when people have this excuse of, and I will say, maybe that's bold of saying, but when people are like, I don't have any money, or I'm stuck, or I'm this, or I'm that, I'm like, there's so much free information out there. There's so many tools and resources available out there that there's no reason that we can't take an hour of our day or 30 minutes of our day and turn that into something sustainable, or something that could potentially generate income for you, right? And so I definitely want women to think about that, and how they can take control of their own life and their own future, and not have to wait for somebody or something to come save them. And not that I have ever been that person, but I find that a lot of times people are waiting for a catalyst in order to make change happen. And it's like, you are the catalyst. You are the thing that can make change happen. You just have to decide. And so that is one of the things that I'm really, passionate about, is that you have the ability to change your entire life with one decision. And then that's where, all of the limiting beliefs come up. And that's where I'm a little bit different in, my business mentorship and sales mentorship, is because it's not just black and white where it's like, do this thing, because I can tell you to do this thing. But if you have resistance to it, if you have past stories that come up with it, if you have limiting beliefs that come up with it, it doesn't matter what I say or how I say it, until we uncover those blocks, you will not move forward. You will continue to be stuck in that rut. And so, where do these things come from? Where are they stored in your body? Why are you still hanging on to them? Right? Of like, maybe your parents told you that money doesn't grow on trees, and that you're stupid if you leave your job, or, all of this stuff. And so working through that is very, very powerful. And then on that flip side, where you are talking about like farming and agriculture, I think we need way more women in the industry. Way more women. Because what I have found, and this is just my personal experience, I have been here in Oregon for almost 5 years now. And the thing that I find, and again, this is just my personal experience, but what I find is women tend to be a lot more open minded and want to try new things. And find ways to simplify things and are open to feedback on things. Whereas the men that I have encountered in the ag industry typically are your 50, 60, 70 plus year old white male. And that's the way we've always done things. So we're going to continue to do things this way. And as you know, that's not always the best method, especially for the way things are going now in the world, in the country, and the state of economics, and personal families and everything. And so it's like, how can we women start to change the narrative around farming, ag, and really start to grow those businesses, those industries in a way that is sustainable for our families, for ourselves, for the planet. Like, there's just so much more that goes into it other than just, this is the way we've always done things, But I know it can be challenging because as women, for a very long time, especially in male dominated careers, it's like, sit down and shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. Right. So
Yeah, I'm as I'm listening to you talk, I bring myself back to my own, people just do that. They naturally do that.
yep, yep.
And when we first started our farm with my ex-husband,
Hmm.
I was actually not this, I'm very outgoing now, as you can probably tell. Like, I'm fairly confident, I'm fairly outgoing, I'm
Yep.
a bit bullish and a bit bold. But when I first started, I was a bit shyer. I didn't have the confidence. I sunk down. And we were just doing what my parents had done. My parents were doing wholesale cucumbers. So they grew the cucumbers, they brought them to the wholesaler, they made a great living, and it was great. But that was not working for our farm. So eventually I started going to a farmer's market. So I went to one, and then I went to two, and then I realized, okay, I think I'm okay at this marketing thing with farmers markets. And then I looked at out of our window, and I saw this whole field, this grain field. And I thought, if we're going to go with cucumbers, tomatoes, and peppers to a farmer's market, we may as well take potatoes, carrots, onions, and beets. And so we started with 1 acre of garden. And my ex-husband, his mom said to him, she looked out the window and said, "Whoa, that's a lot of garden. What are you going to do if it doesn't work?" And my ex-husband said to his mom, "No, no, no. What is she, meaning me, what is she going to do next year if this does work?" And we went from 1 acre to 3 acres to 6 acres to 10 to 20, like, just grow that bad boy. And when you're talking about mindset, let's bring that back into the mindset. I was this shy, insecure, not confident woman. And as I grew in business, boom, my confidence grew and grew and grew to the point now where sometimes I'm like, oh, Dawn, just tone it down a little bit.
Don't
Like,
tone it.
sometimes, but you know? And so that's the thing. It's all a package when it comes to
Mhm.
mindset, when it comes to, just taking the bull by the horns and doing something for your family. We,
Yeah.
the women, we, the people, really can be the change in our society. I've been to Cuba a few times. They have the black market down there. Everyone is a business owner down there. And that's part of the reason why I love it. I don't love communism, but hey, if you're in a communist country, you may as well figure out a side gig to do. So, absolutely.
Yep, I agree. I think there's this like, I'm a believer in, God and higher power, and even like law of attraction type of stuff, right? Like, what you put out is the things that you will get back type of stuff, right? And there was this phrase at one point that said, you are the creator of your reality. And whether that is, good or bad, you are a direct reflection of the things around you. And if you don't like the things around you, then it's time for you to change. When most people think, I need to change everything externally, it's like, no, because no matter where you go, you are. So you have to work on you before anything else will change. And that starts with the home, that starts with your business, that starts with all like, it's all in you, right? And then it kind of radiates outward from there. So,
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. the biggest lesson 16 years of marriage taught me is that I can't change someone.
Yeah.
I could only, yeah, I mean, right? So I can only do what I can do. So I got stronger.
Mhm.
I built myself up. Eventually, I bought him out. And yeah, I've carried on and not looked back. And yes, I did sell my farm, and that was the hardest decision in my entire life. But, you just got to move on and you got to realize. So I believe in the Lord too. And I just think the Lord has something bigger
Mhm.
for me out there someplace. And it might just be online. So here we are. We're doing podcasts online. It's a little like, oh, I didn't, when I had my farm, I didn't even touch the computer myself. I had administrative assistants, and here
Mhm.
I'm starting to try. I'm doing an online company. I'm like, Dawn, are you crazy? Like, but yeah, I am. So
You gotta follow those breadcrumbs, though. I feel like things get put in your path for a reason. And there's this other concept of big magic, is I believe what the book is, but it's an idea is brought to you for you to do something with it. And if you don't take action on it, that idea will jump from one person to the other, which is when you see other people take action on something that you wanted to, why you are so triggered by it, right? And so when the idea is presented to you, don't delay, because success loves action. Success loves momentum. Money loves movement, right? Like all of those things. So it's those who can think quickly and take action quickly are the ones who get rewarded quickly, right? And so, if you see somebody else doing something and you're like, I should have done it, it's still not too late to do it. Go do the thing. It's just kind of like proof of concept, in my opinion. So,
for
yeah.
sure. But that's being an entrepreneur. You get an
Yeah.
idea and then you go and do it. You get an
Yep.
idea and you go and do it. You can't drive a car if you don't put the freaking thing into drive. Like, it just has to go. And if it doesn't go, like it's because you didn't put it on drive, or you didn't take your foot off the brake. Like,
Hmm.
and in business, sometimes things don't work out. Not everything's a bed of roses all the time. But when you have what is the word? When you have a block, not a block, when you have a speed bump, I don't know, when you have something that happens that's not positive, you just have to shift and pivot and just keep going, right?
Hmm.
You can't stop.
No, it's just a detour. I mean, that's really all it is. I mean, if you are planning on getting to, whatever income level or whatever success level or whatever it is, if there's bumps in the roads, they're just detours, right? And so take it for feedback, fail forward, and eventually you're gonna, if as long as you don't quit, you will reach your goal. That is like the biggest thing with entrepreneurship, is those who stick with it and stay in it the longest are the ones who end up being successful. It's those that, let their beliefs or other people's opinions keep them from, going after their hopes and dreams. Those are the people that end up, quote unquote failing. So,
Yeah, and you're right, it's just a choice. I didn't fail on my farm. I chose to make the business decision to sell it because I
yeah.
sold it before the bank took it, right? And so that's where this whole coaching things. Let's bring this back into coaching. I'm a
Okay.
coach, you're a coach, we're coaching people, right? So
Hmm.
we are helping others become entrepreneurs on a small scale like mine, or a large scale like yours. Like, we are helping others achieve their goals, and we are able to teach them these steps and the mindset, and help them through tic-tac-ticianing their problems. Yeah. Is that what you do in your coaching?
Yeah, so I have like four pillars that I work with people on, and it's strategy, systems, support, and spirituality. Like, those are the four main components of how I work with people, all under the umbrella of sales, or my program is called Sales Mama School. And so we want to put an emphasis on, obviously growing your business. So we do focus on sales, but it's those four pillars that are really going to help you be successful within your sales and your business. And so yeah, I mean, I help people everything from fine tuning their product or service to messaging and marketing. And, if they, get in front of people, whether it's through events or webinars or workshops or one-on-one phone calls or sales calls or digital products, or all of that stuff. It's how do we create this, the word that people call it now is a funnel, right? How do we create a funnel to nurture people through your process so that they can naturally become clients of yours? And what makes you different and unique, right? I think there's just so much blah out there, where it's like, oh, just do this or just do that. It's all the same advice. Like you just see the same thing over and over and over. It's like one person read a book and then they all read it and now they're all experts on it, you know? And I'm very much, yes, there's foundations to your business, but we also want to keep you in your business. And so I do think blueprints and, you know, building a foundation are great, but also how do we differentiate you from the others in the industry? Because we don't just want everybody to have the same exact thing, you know? And so that's why I'm really big on buyer and seller personalities too, which I can talk a little bit about if you'd like me
Yeah,
to.
for sure.
Um,
Absolutely.
because what I find is that in, again, traditional sales and marketing, a lot of people will just market to one type of person, right? And so they'll say, oh, just get more leads, just get more leads. When in reality, a small fraction of buyers are that fast action buyer, right? And that's what we would call our ready buyers, or what I would call like our sapphire buyers. If we break it down into GEMS methodology, this is a concept by Danny Johnson, but I kind of redo it and teach it in a little bit different way, but I'll kind of break it down easily for folks here. So there's really four main personalities. There is a sapphire personality, which is going to be your fast action buyers. They love discounts. They love fat flash sales. They buy things on the fear of missing out, like excitement, like that type of stuff, right? And then we have our ruby buyers, which are our VIP people, our luxury experience. Think of Ritz-Carlton, like the best of the best. If they have a good, better, best option, they're always going to go with the best option. And you better be making sure that you're telling them, you know, why this is going to make them number one and how this is going to make them top rated or how this is going to help them hit their goals fastest. Like they are very competitive and they want to be number one. The next one is going to be an emerald. Emeralds are very logical thinkers. They want facts, they want data. And so you want to tell them why this makes logical sense. What is their return on their investment? How quickly are they going to see results? What are the things that they're exactly going to get? What does the contract look like? And going through specific details with somebody like that is going to help close that deal. And then we have pearls. Pearls are going to be our heart-led individuals. They're the ones who want to save the world, save the ocean. They're very emotional buyers. They want to feel seen and heard and understood. And if you put a lot of pressure on them, you're going to scare them away and they're never going to come back. And so you want to talk in a way that feels comforting and soothing and really understand where they're coming from and what's most important to them, because typically the reason that they buy is not always because of them, but because of the impact that it's going to have on their family, on their future, on others. And so they lead from the heart. And so making sure that you're having appropriate conversations with each individual, because if I'm talking to an emerald and they're fact driven, but I'm selling from a sapphire perspective on fast action this and don't miss out on that, that person's going to think I'm an idiot and they're not going to buy, right? And it doesn't matter how good your product is, you're talking to them all wrong. And I don't want you to change who you are, because you naturally sell in a specific way. So you will start to naturally attract specific type of people, either similar people or opposite people, or if you really want to grow your business, you're going to target all different types of personalities throughout your funnel, which is something that I do and which is something that I teach, right? And so that's one method, one strategy within Sales Mama School that is not something that a lot of people teach. And I go into a lot more detail on it than that, but that is like high level. And then we build things out, scripts, funnels, marketing, emails, all of it based on what comes out of those personality tests.
Are you sitting on a farm or homestead that could be making you real money? Tired of guessing on how to market your products? I owned a 36,000 square foot greenhouse. I ran 2 farm to table stores. I had 30 people on payroll. I brought in $2.5 million in gross revenue in 2020, selling farm goods directly to customers. Now I teach farmers and homesteaders how to make money and save money off the land they already have. Whether you're selling eggs, beef, produce, baked goods, or anything in between, if you want to get into direct marketing and grow your sales, I'm the girl for you. Stop leaving money on the table and start putting it into your bank account. Join me at Dawn's Dirt Business Coaching and let's make your farm pay you back.
So,
For sure. That's brilliant advice. And as you're sitting here again, I always bring it back to I don't know why I do that. I always just bring it back to like what I've done in life and how, oh. And so I'm thinking about tomatoes. So we're going to bring it back from like
mhm,
online sales and like big car sales or cattle sales or horse sales to tomato sales. So
perfect.
when I was because it's all the same thing. It's sales and marketing and people and things like that. So when I was at the farmer's market, yes, I did the fast action, or I did the deal sales. So I
Mhm,
did 1 for 6, 5 for 25. There was a deal. Sometimes I discounted things. People really like some of that stuff. I also did the feeling sales. I'm a farmer. I'm a single mama farmer, like you're supporting my
mhm.
farm, I'm supporting you. It's a relationship. What were some of the other ones?
The other
Facts.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry, facts. Okay, so fax sales. Those were the customers that came to my booth and they were like, who grew it? Where did it come from? What did you use? Do you have pesticides? Yeah, la, 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 la. What did you do? Or even with my chickens, I got chickens that I sold this year. What did you do with the chickens? And then I whip out my phone and I'd be like, look, here's a picture of my
Yep.
happy chickens,
Here's
right?
my fact sheet of all the
Eh,
things, and this is what I
Right.
used, and yep.
Yes. And then I missed one. What was the other
The
one that I missed?
Ruby is the other one. So, like, why is this the best of the best? Why is your product better than the others? Why would I want to go with you over somebody else? Is yours going to be like the top notch, highest quality, that type of stuff?
Yes. So I got to tell you how I did this. There was another vendor down in a booth, a couple stalls down, and I knew that my tomatoes tasted better than his tomatoes by far. And so when I saw someone walk through the market with a bag of his tomatoes, I actually took a bag of my tomatoes and I said, here's a gift. Go do a taste test and come back and see me. And you can decide which tomatoes you like better. And so they
Mhm,
always came back to mine because I knew mine were better, and they were. So
mhm.
yeah. So those are the 4 examples, but just brought down to it's just part in this farm language. Same shit, different pile. You're
Yeah.
just, applying all those things to other places, other things for sales and marketing and all the things.
This is exactly. And I'm so glad that you did that because it shows how you can market to different people in different ways and how you were able to grow your business to a way that it was. Because if you just went in one of those scenarios and you didn't go after the fact, or if you didn't have that data to help that person with the fact sheet, or if you didn't have the taste test, right? Like those are potential customers that you would not have had. And so you sell to them differently than you would with, the fast action type of stuff. So perfect example.
For sure, for sure. Well, and I was always very pushy at sales. I got like I'm a very outgoing woman, so I would stand there and be like, "Would you like to try a tomato? Would you like to try a tomato? Would you like to try a tomato?" And I had someone one time say, "Oh, I can't do sales like that. That's too pushy, and you're going to turn me off if you did that." And I thought, honestly, out of 100 people, if 2 people were that shy that I, offered them a tomato,
Uh,
then I could miss out on those 2 people because let me tell you, the 98 they will probably buy if they taste that tomato, right? So
Exactly. And that's such a good point because there's so many people who are afraid of the no that I just tell people like expect the no, embrace the no. It's somebody's like our brains automatically default to the negative. Like whether we want it or not, if somebody's like, "Hey, do you want this thing?" and you're caught off guard, a lot of times you're like, "No," even if it is the thing that you want, right? And so just expect it and find ways to overcome it. And so when you come at it with like a confident way or even like using humor to break it down or, being that outspoken personality and like just, gesturing people in, it can really lessen the blow of the no. But reality is it's sales, it's business. You're going to hear no. And if you can't find a way to thicken your skin to take that no, because it's nothing personal. It is nothing personal. It is all about them and nothing about you. You're going to have a really hard time in business. So just practice that.
absolutely. So I was doing
Mm,
I was doing Canmore. So Canmore is like by Banff, Alberta here, so it's very
okay.
touristy. So I was selling my chicken and eggs at Canmore Farmers Market this year. And people would walk by and I'd be like, "Hey, do you need any chicken or eggs?" And then, one guy said, "Oh, I'm a vegetarian." And I said, "Oh," I said, "so I can't sell my chicken to you." But I said, "If you were a chicken eater, I know you'd come to me." And we just made a big joke of it. And we
Yes.
were laughing at it. And, it was a no, and that's fine.
Mhm.
And then there was another lady. She asked me all the questions, fielded all the feels, wanted to know about my chickens and my eggs, and she bought my eggs. She was vegan, and she bought my eggs. And then my favorite was the tourists that were there, like on a vacation, and I'd say, "Oh, you need a whole chicken?" And they'd say no, and I'd say, "Oh, but trust me, they go great in your suitcase. What happens at customs is not my problem, but hey, you really need a chicken." And they would just laugh at me and call me liar and, carry on. It was a no, and I just carried on and asked the next person. And I trade my chickens for your babies, right? Like, you just get no, no, no,
Mhm.
no, no until you get a yes, and you appreciate it and you love on them and you just keep loving everyone. And yeah, you're right. Divorce yourself from the income outcome. Divorce yourself from the outcome.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And that's what I always tell people when they go into like sales calls or sales presentations or any type of thing like that. It's like, listen, you got to show up with clear, clean, positive energy, because you cannot bring that previous no into the next one, or you're going to project that no onto that person, or whatever objections you have about it, you're also going to project onto that person. And so have fun with it. Like, life's too short to take everything serious, and when you can use humor, it really, it does. It kind of lessens that blow. It puts their guard down. But the other cool thing about it is those people, even if they are a no, right? And this is another thing, like, people won't remember what you say, but they'll remember how you make them feel. And so even those people in those no circumstances, if you have a lasting impression on them, they may not be your person, but sure as shit, I bet they will tell other people about you because you had such a positive impression on them. And I've had that happen to me before, where I've gotten on phone calls with people or talked to people, and it's like, maybe we're not a good fit to work together, but then they send me 3 people and I'm like, whoa, where did you come from? Oh, so-and-so. It's like, oh, interesting. I haven't even worked with that person because it wasn't a good fit, but then they send me people to work with because we had such a great conversation.
For sure. And that brings it back to the relationship. I'm all about like relationship of people. When you can build community and build,
Mhm.
it's about, building each other up and just respecting people and being kind to people. And you're right. When someone can remember you and when you made them feel good, even though they're a vegetarian and they didn't buy your chicken, that customer still felt good about our conversation. And yeah, you're right. You never know if he was going to a vegetarian barbecue at his neighbor's house that day and went, oh, well, these are good chickens at the farmer's market. And
Mhm.
so it's a rippling effect. And when you can just be kindness and love and put people ahead of profits and people ahead of,
Yes.
and I'm not saying profits aren't good. I'm not saying money's not good. I'm just saying that, people are more important than the almighty dollar, but you need the almighty dollar to, make a living. And so both are really important. It's a relationship.
Yeah, but I think what you're trying to say, or what you are saying, is that it's people before profit, right? Like, they're both important, but I think when you really focus on the person and how you can help them and be of service to them without burning yourself out and really solving their problems, the profit comes naturally to that, right? But when you are so focused on, I need to make the sale, I need to make the sale, I need to make the sale, you come off with a desperate energy, and your focus is on the wrong thing, essentially, in my opinion, right? Like, yes, we need money to go. The more you make, the more you can give, right? But when you come at it with, I need to make the sale, I need to make this sale, you're not having the right frame of mind, the not the right energy. And the person feels that, right? Like, everybody has their BS radars on, and they know when you're not being genuine about something. So you might as well have something that you're passionate about, you're genuine about. The more authentic you are, people will feel that, they know that. And then it's so much easier to invest your dollar in something that somebody cares about what it is that you're doing, or solving your problem, or is going to be there for you, or has the best tomatoes. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, 100% correct. Maybe I'm not articulate like you are, but it's the same. I'm just a farm girl, right? So it's the it's the
I love it.
same thing. It's the same. I feel like we're kindred spirits actually as we're
I'm
talking
really
here. Like,
enjoying this.
we're laughing and laughing and laughing. So absolutely. But any last minute thoughts for someone that's just starting out or wanting to get into business, like a mom or for a side gig, or someone that's just starting out their farm to table sales, or has a property that they've had some chickens and they've had some animals, but they're not quite sure what to do. What would you suggest to them?
I would suggest that they start building those relationships with people immediately, and focus on how they can get in front of more people. I think a lot of times when people start businesses, they are so focused on my social media has to be perfect. My website has to be perfect. My branding colors have to be perfect. My logo has to be perfect. And all of that stuff is secondary to proof of concept. And so you need proof of concept first. You need to take payment from people first. You need to focus on selling yourself and your product or service first. And then once you start to have those profits and proceeds, you can then go and reinvest into all of the things, right? I mean, there are free resources out there. There's free websites, there's, social media, utilize the free resources that you have available, but do not get caught in the weeds of, I have to have the perfect this or the perfect that or the perfect this, because I promise you 6 months from now, it's all going to look a million times different. And then 6 months from then, it's going to look different. So my advice is take the next right step that's going to move the needle forward. Don't focus on the next 20 or 30 steps. And if you're struggling with this and you don't have the means to, invest in a coach like Dawn or any type of service that would help move you forward, there is so many books out there. The library has a bunch of them. You can do them for free. There is no reason why anybody can't be successful in this. And even things like ChatGPT, right? Put all of your business ideas into there. Help me organize and prioritize this list and what to focus on next. But I do promise you that if you invest in a coach or a consultant or somebody who has been where you want to be, you will get there faster. Okay. Just like any Olympic athlete, any top business owner, anybody, you will get there so much faster if you have somebody holding you accountable and the blueprint on how to do it. So don't struggle more than you need to. Just do what you need to do to get started and then go find the right help.
For sure. I love this. And, honestly, this whole time as we're sitting here talking, I'm like, man, I need to hire you. And I should have hired you like 3 years ago when I had my farm. Like, where were you? Where were you? I needed you. And so, yeah, yeah. So if you're in a big business, if you've got the Yellowstone and you need some help to, make the ends meet on your farm or your ranch or your operation, where can people find you?
So I also have a podcast, which I cannot wait to have you on and talk all things you. So it is the Sales Mama podcast. They can find me over there. Otherwise, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, I mean, everywhere it's Sausha.Davis or Sales Mama School. Or they can head over to my website at salesmama.biz. I also have a quiz on the website so you can see what type of seller or buyer you are and see what type of personality you are. So a lot of folks have really, really enjoyed that personality test and seeing how they are buyers. And so that's been fun to see all of the quizzes and all of the comments coming in from that on, oh my gosh, this is so accurate. So I love seeing those emails come in.
I love that. I love that. I want to jump off this call and go take your test. Like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
And let me know what you are.
Love it. I've learned so much actually this past hour. I really appreciate your time. I've enjoyed the laughs and the giggles and the talking and the information, talking business and talking sales and talking marketing and talking people really at the end of the day. So yeah, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate this. And yeah, go find Sausha.
Yay. Thank you. This has been so much fun. And yes, I'm definitely a people first type of business mentor, if you will. So I appreciate you having me on and I love this conversation. So thank you.
We'll continue this, I'm sure. Okay. Thank you.